Welcome, beautiful damsels. Trust is like a mirror. Once shattered, it's never the same again. For a Sigma female, it's less about putting the pieces back together and more about smashing the mirror entirely. In a world where social norms demand blind faith and endless second chances, Sigma females are the rebels who refuse to play along. Did you know that studies show humans are naturally wired to trust others, often within milliseconds of meeting them? For Sigma females, those milliseconds stretch into eternity as they carefully dissect intentions, weigh motives, and analyze every word with surgical precision. Why? Because experience has taught them a brutal truth. Trust isn't a gift, it's a risk. And risks, when misplaced, come with heavy consequences. Sure, it might seem overly cautious or even cynical to some, but when you've danced with betrayal as often as a Sigma female has, you start to see the world a little differently. So, buckle up as we dive deep into why these lone wolves guard their trust, like a dragon hoards its gold. Warning? You might laugh, you might cringe, but by the end, you'll definitely understand why they'd rather be labeled as cold than naive. Number 1. The risk of manipulation is too high. Sigma females are no strangers to manipulation. Their independence, intelligence, and quiet confidence naturally draw people in, but not everyone comes with good intentions. Manipulators are often attracted to Sigma females because they see them as a challenge, a puzzle to crack, or a resource to exploit. It's not uncommon for people to disguise their motives, pretending to offer support or friendship while secretly seeking to gain control, validation, or personal advantage. The danger lies in how subtle manipulation can be. A clever manipulator doesn't demand outright, they nudge, guilt, or charm their way into someone's trust. For a Sigma female, these attempts at control are glaring red flags. They've learned that what seems like kindness can be a form of leverage, and what appears to be genuine interest often hides a self-serving agenda. This realization doesn't come from paranoia, but from experience. They've encountered the flattery that turns into obligation, the promises that come with invisible strings, and the support that's suddenly withheld when they don't conform. It's not just about avoiding being used, it's about preserving their autonomy. To a Sigma female, losing control of her own choices is one of the ultimate betrayals. That's why she's always on guard, questioning intentions and spotting manipulation before it can take root. Trusting the wrong person isn't just a setback, it's an attack on the very freedom she's worked so hard to maintain. For many, this vigilance might seem exhausting, but for a Sigma female, it's second nature. She would rather be seen as unapproachable or overly cautious than allow herself to be entangled in someone else's web. Trust, to her, isn't just precious, it's fragile. Once it's broken, she rarely gives anyone the chance to shatter it again. Number 2. They know trust is a double-edged sword. Trust is not just an emotional bond, it's an exchange of power. When you trust someone, you hand them the ability to influence your life, your emotions, decisions, and sometimes even your vulnerabilities. Sigma females, however, approach trust with a level of caution that's both deliberate and razor-sharp. They've seen what happens when this power falls into the wrong hands, and they refuse to take that gamble lightly. For a Sigma female, trust is never blind. They understand that not everyone deserves access to their inner world, because some people don't just mishandle trust. They weaponize it. A secret shared becomes a tool for manipulation. A moment of weakness becomes ammunition, and dependence can turn into leverage. This isn't a theory to them, it's a reality they've either lived or watched unfold far too often. That's why they operate with a prove-yourself-first mentality. To earn a Sigma female's trust, you have to demonstrate integrity consistently over time. It's not enough to say the right things or make fleeting gestures. Actions, follow-through, and the ability to respect boundaries matter far more to them than words or appearances. But even when trust is given, it comes with an asterisk. Sigma females don't forget the double-edged nature of trust. They remain acutely aware that giving someone the ability to affect their life means accepting the possibility of betrayal. This doesn't make them paranoid, it makes them prepared. They've mastered the art of staying open without being vulnerable and maintaining relationships without losing control. For a Sigma female, trust isn't a weakness, it's a calculated risk. And if someone fails to use that trust responsibly, they won't get a second chance. After all, power, once misused, is nearly impossible to reclaim. Number 3, they've been targeted for their independence. Independence is both a strength and a magnet for unwanted attention, and Sigma females know this all too well. Their self-sufficiency, ability to thrive without external validation, and refusal to conform to societal norms make them stand out in a world that often demands compliance. Unfortunately, this independence also makes them a target. Some people envy their freedom, mistaking it for arrogance or aloofness. Instead of respecting a Sigma female's autonomy, they see it as a challenge to be conquered. This often leads to attempts to undermine her confidence or diminish her achievements, driven by jealousy or insecurity. Sigma females recognize these patterns early, spotting the subtle digs, backhanded compliments, or attempts to put them in their place. On the other end of the spectrum are those who seek to control her independence. These individuals, often disguised as caring partners, friends, or mentors, are drawn to her strength, but ultimately feel threatened by it. They try to tether her through manipulation, guilt, or even overt dominance, thinking they can mold her into someone more compliant. For a Sigma female, this is the ultimate red flag. Her independence isn't just a personality trait, it's her lifeline, and any attempt to diminish it is met with swift resistance. This repeated exposure to envy and control tactics has shaped how Sigma females approach relationships. They've learned to be hyper-vigilant about who they let in, ensuring that anyone who tries to get close isn't doing so to exploit, undermine, or change them. Trust becomes less about shared experiences and more about proven respect for her autonomy. While some may view their guarded nature as cold or distant, Sigma females know better. It's not about building walls. It's about protecting the hard-won freedom that others so often misunderstand or seek to take away. Number 4, they don't believe in blind loyalty. For Sigma females, loyalty is not a blanket concept handed out freely. It's a living, breathing thing that must be nurtured and earned. They don't subscribe to the idea of blind loyalty, the notion that someone deserves their unwavering allegiance simply because of a title, a shared history, or societal norms. Instead, they view loyalty as a mutual agreement built on respect, consistency, and integrity, not something given automatically or forever. Blind loyalty often leads to complacency, exploitation, and misplaced trust, and Sigma females have no tolerance for any of it. They've witnessed how unquestioned allegiance can trap people in toxic relationships, stifle personal growth, or lead to betrayal. Whether it's a family member expecting their loyalty simply because of blood ties, or a friend demanding support regardless of their behavior, Sigma females see these situations for what they are, one-sided and unearned. Their approach is simple, yet profound. Trust and loyalty are ongoing processes. It's not about a dramatic test or an ultimatum. It's about the day-to-day actions that prove someone's worth. Are they consistent in their words and actions? Do they respect boundaries? Are they genuinely supportive, even when there's nothing to gain? If the answer is yes, then loyalty flows naturally. If not, the connection fades, no matter how deep the history might be. To some, this mindset might seem harsh or transactional, but for Sigma females, it's about preserving their self-worth and emotional energy. They don't believe in staying loyal to people who exploit, disrespect, or take them for granted. Instead, they reserve their loyalty for those who prove they deserve it, and they never feel guilty about withdrawing it when it's no longer reciprocated. For them, loyalty isn't blind, it's clear-eyed, intentional, and always a two-way street. Number 5, they're immune to love bombing. Sigma females don't fall for the glittering bait of love bombing. While others might be swept off their feet by grand gestures, constant compliments, or overwhelming attention, Sigma females immediately sense the imbalance. They know that excessive praise isn't always about admiration. It's often a calculated move to disarm or manipulate. Love bombing works because it's designed to create dependency. By showering someone with affection and validation, manipulators aim to build trust quickly, making their target more likely to overlook red flags. Sigma females, however, don't rush into emotional connections. They instinctively recognize when someone's behavior feels too good to be true, and instead of leaning in, they step back. This wariness doesn't come from a place of cynicism, but from a deep understanding of human behavior. They've seen how initial infatuation can be a smokescreen for control or selfish motives. The compliments, attention, and seemingly perfect compatibility can be a trap, a way to establish dominance before the real intentions surface. Sigma females have no interest in relationships built on illusions. They value authenticity over theatrics and substance over surface-level charm. So when someone tries to win them over with over-the-top declarations or constant validation, they don't feel flattered, they feel suspicious. Where others might mistake love bombing for genuine affection, Sigma females see it for what it often is, an attempt to manipulate their emotions. Their immunity to love bombing isn't about being cold or unromantic. It's about protecting their independence and emotional well-being. For Sigma females, real connections are slow-burning and built on mutual respect, not rushed declarations or performative affection. If someone tries to fast-track trust or connection, they'll quickly find that Sigma females are far too perceptive to fall for such games. Number 6. They see relationships as equal partnerships. To a Sigma female, a relationship is not a hierarchy, a power struggle, or an opportunity for control. It's a partnership of equals. This belief shapes every connection they form, whether it's romantic, platonic, or professional. They expect mutual respect, shared effort, and a balance of power. Anything less feels unworthy of their time and energy. Many people unconsciously bring unspoken expectations or traditional roles into relationships. They may assume dominance, expect deference, or quietly demand emotional labor without reciprocation. Sigma females reject this dynamic entirely. They don't believe in sacrificing their independence or identity to meet someone else's unvoiced needs. If someone enters their life expecting to take more than they give, they'll quickly find themselves shut out. This isn't about being unyielding or difficult, it's about self-respect. Sigma females understand that inequality in a relationship, no matter how small it seems, can snowball into resentment, control, or even exploitation. They've seen this pattern play out in the lives of others, and they refuse to let it happen to them. What sets Sigma females apart is their willingness to walk away at the first sign of imbalance. They won't cling to a relationship out of fear, tradition, or convenience. Instead, they value their freedom and peace over maintaining a connection that doesn't serve them. When they sense they're being undervalued, overburdened, or expected to conform to someone else's idea of a relationship, they pull back without hesitation. For a Sigma female, equality is non-negotiable. They don't want power over others, nor do they want to relinquish their own. They seek connections where both parties uplift, challenge, and respect each other as equals. Anything less simply doesn't align with their vision of what a relationship should be. Number 7. They've seen the ugly side of dependence. Sigma females have witnessed firsthand the darker consequences of dependence, and it's left an indelible mark on how they navigate relationships. Whether through personal experience or observing others, they've seen how relying too much on someone else, emotionally, financially, or otherwise, can lead to disappointment, resentment, or outright exploitation. These experiences have taught them a valuable but harsh truth. The more you lean on someone, the more vulnerable you become to their whims, motives, or failures. They've seen dependence breed resentment, where the giver feels burdened and the receiver feels indebted. What starts as a supportive dynamic often morphs into a power imbalance, with one party holding control and the other feeling trapped. This imbalance can be subtle at first, manifesting in guilt-tripping, passive-aggressive behavior or conditional support. But over time, it corrodes trust and respect. Sigma females are also keenly aware of how dependence can make someone a target for exploitation. They've observed how people with ill intentions exploit vulnerability, twisting it to serve their own agendas. Whether it's a friend taking advantage of someone's loyalty, a partner manipulating emotional reliance, or a boss exploiting financial need, Sigma females know that dependence often comes with strings attached. These lessons have reinforced their preference for autonomy. To them, self-reliance isn't just a strength, it's a safeguard. By maintaining their independence, They protect themselves from the pitfalls of unbalanced relationships and ensure that no one can use their reliance as leverage. It's not that Sigma females avoid relationships, they just approach them differently. They strive for interdependence, a mutual exchange of support that doesn't compromise their freedom or self-sufficiency. For them, autonomy isn't a barrier to connection. It's the foundation that ensures those connections remain healthy, equal, and free from the ugliness they've seen dependence create. Number 8. Their individuality is threatening. Sigma females are unapologetically themselves, and their individuality can be unsettling to those who thrive on conformity or control. Their nonconformist nature isn't about rebellion for its own sake. It's an innate refusal to fit into molds that don't align with their values. While this self-assurance is inspiring to some, it's deeply intimidating to others. People who feel threatened by their independence often respond with passive-aggressive behavior, subtle digs, or outright attempts to undermine them. What unnerves others the most is the Sigma female's ability to move through life without seeking approval. They don't play by traditional rules, nor do they feel the need to explain or justify their choices. This quiet confidence disrupts social norms that demand people to seek validation, follow trends, or conform to groupthink. For those who rely on these systems of control, a Sigma female's autonomy feels like a threat to the status quo. The intimidation they inspire can manifest in various ways. Some people try to minimize their accomplishments, dismissing their success as luck or circumstance. Others might attempt to isolate them, framing their independence as coldness or arrogance to sow doubt in their character. The goal in all these cases is the same: to shrink the Sigma female down to a size that feels less threatening. Through these experiences, Sigma females quickly learn that not everyone has their best interests at heart. They become highly discerning about who they allow into their lives, understanding that some people are driven by envy or insecurity. This discernment isn't about building walls, but about protecting their individuality from those who might seek to diminish it. Their independence may provoke discomfort in others, but Sigma females wouldn't trade it for anything. They know that staying true to themselves is far more important than conforming to a world that can't handle their uniqueness. Number 9. They've experienced the quiet betrayals. Sigma females have a unique understanding of betrayal because they've experienced it in its quiet, insidious form. Unlike dramatic, overt betrayals that come with loud confrontations or dramatic fallout, the betrayals Sigma females face are often far more subtle. These quiet betrayals might not involve broken promises shouted from rooftops, but instead, they come in the form of promises unkept, small lies told behind their backs, or judgments passed in silence. The quiet nature of these betrayals makes them harder to detect, but no less painful. A promise that's made and then ignored might seem insignificant to others, but to a Sigma female, it's a crack in the foundation of trust. It's not just the action, but the unspoken message, that their word wasn't valued, that they could be overlooked. Likewise, small lies, perhaps about something as trivial as where someone was or who they were with, don't necessarily destroy trust outright, but they create a slow erosion that is harder to repair. It's not the magnitude of the lie, but the fact that it was told in the first place that signals a deeper problem. Even worse are the silent betrayals, the ones that don't even need words. A raised eyebrow, a whispered judgment, or an exclusion from group decisions speak volumes. They are acts of undermining, of subtly positioning someone as other without ever saying it out loud. To a Sigma female, these quiet betrayals cut the deepest because they are often wrapped in an illusion of politeness or good intentions. They come from people who claim to be allies, yet act as if they have no stake in her well-being. These nuanced betrayals leave deeper scars than more obvious ones because they are harder to process. They slip under the radar, making it more difficult to call out the behavior, and they accumulate over time, building a sense of distrust that's hard to shake. For Sigma females, these quiet betrayals are a lesson in vigilance. They've learned to watch for the subtle signs, those small moments that hint at larger issues, and to be wary of people who wear a mask of friendliness but harbor an agenda. trust to them isn't just about the big gestures. It's about consistency in the small, often overlooked actions. Number 10. They've seen power corrupt relationships. Sigma females have witnessed time and time again how the introduction of power dynamics can poison even the most genuine of relationships. Whether in friendships, romantic partnerships, or work settings, the allure of control often undermines what should be a mutual exchange of respect and care. They've seen how power struggles, whether overt or subtle, can turn healthy interactions into competitions, alliances into transactions, and affection into a tool for manipulation. At the core of most of these toxic dynamics is the desire for dominance or control. In friendships, they've seen how one person's need to be in charge leads to emotional exploitation or dismissive behavior. In romantic relationships, they've watched as one partner tries to own the other, twisting love into a means of gaining power and influence. In the workplace, Sigma females have seen the insidious ways power plays out in petty politics, where people use alliances and favors to climb the ladder, often at the expense of their integrity. These experiences have led Sigma females to be hyper-aware of the delicate balance that makes up any relationship. Power, when unbalanced, breeds resentment and distrust, and they've seen it firsthand too many times. They've watched how a seemingly simple act of control, whether it's a subtle manipulation, an overbearing gesture, or even an innocent-seeming critique, can shift the foundation of a relationship. What once felt like mutual respect suddenly turns into a tug-of-war for influence, and that's when things start to unravel. As a result, Sigma females have become incredibly discerning about the people they let into their inner world. They recognize that any relationship carries a potential for power dynamics to emerge, so they remain vigilant and ensure that the balance of respect, trust, and equality is maintained. They value autonomy and independence above all else, and will always retreat at the first sign that someone is attempting to tip the scales in their favor. For Sigma females, power struggles are not just uncomfortable. They're a warning sign, one that signals it's time to pull back before the poison seeps any deeper. In the end, Sigma females aren't just cautious about trust. They're masters of it. They've been burned, seen the ugly sides of human nature, and learned that relationships, no matter how promising, always come with risks. Their experiences have taught them that loyalty isn't given blindly, dependence is a trap, and that autonomy isn't just a preference, it's a necessity. They don't need to rely on anyone for validation or emotional fulfillment because they've already learned to trust in themselves, and that self-reliance, it's both their armor and their greatest strength. But let's be clear, it's not that Sigma females don't want relationships or connections. They crave genuine, equal partnerships where respect and trust are built over time. They just won't settle for anything less. For them, real trust is earned through actions, not words, and they've learned the hard way that power struggles, manipulation, and shallow affection are never worth the sacrifice of their peace or freedom. So, while others might rush in with open hearts, hoping for the best and giving people the benefit of the doubt, Sigma females take a more deliberate, guarded approach. They've seen it all: the quiet betrayals, the attempts to control, the manipulation masked as affection, and they're no longer fooled. If you want to earn their trust, you'll have to prove you deserve it, not with grand gestures, but with consistent, honest actions. In a world that thrives on chaos and conformity, Sigma females stand apart, not out of arrogance, but because they've learned the hard way that true strength lies in the ability to protect their peace and preserve their individuality. They don't trust easily, and with good reason, but for those who prove themselves worthy, they'll find that the trust of a Sigma female is not only rare, but something truly worth having. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Sigma females and want to keep exploring topics that challenge the norm and push boundaries, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like if you found it thought-provoking, and feel free to drop a comment with your thoughts or personal experiences. I'd love to hear from you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because let's be honest, we could all use a little more self-awareness and a lot less drama in our lives. Thanks for watching, and stay true to yourself. Thanks damsels for tuning in. See you in the next vid. Bye and stay blessed.